Well, first of all, I just heard his name when he got qualified to the main draw. Just 700 in the world, and he's playing the main draw of Wimbledon, and he has won his first, I think, tour level match. So I think it's impressive. And if he's there, it's because he deserves to be there. So. I've watched it a little bit before my match because he was playing before mine. So I saw a great tennis on grass. To be honest, I have to be ready. I will try to improve the things that it didn't work today, and hopefully be better. As I said, if he's in the second round, because he deserves it, so I will try to show my best tennis.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tennis Weekly with Joel, Kim, and Chris. On today's Wimbledon Day 1 catch-up, brought to you by Babolat.
Alcaraz survives a five-set thriller.
Raducanu leads 7 Brits into round 2.
And Medvedev falls as Rune and Tsitsipas also exit.
Chris, today is the 30th of June, and we are here to catch up on Wimbledon Day 1 at Tennis Weekly HQ, brought to you by Babolat. It's been a scorcher down at the All England Club today, where Carlos Alcaraz was made to work with a 5-set victory over Fabio Fognini. It wasn't as plain sailing as well for a whole host of top seeds, with Rune, Medvedev and Tsitsipas all falling at the first hurdle. Arina Sabalenka also opened her account with a straight sets victory, whilst the British top 3 of Raducanu, Boulter and Kartal also won through. Chris, we are back at Wimbledon, and it's very much been shorts and t-shirts weather today at the championships.
I mean, it's good to be back. When I remembered it from last year, it was much rainier. I think I brought jumpers and jackets. I think I even had like a leather jacket. And today it was as little clothing as possible. It was linen only. It was umbrellas up to shield you not from the rain, but from the sun.
I was packing the Factor 50. I'm not going to lie. That's how I do not fare well in the sun. And being there today, it genuinely reminded me of sort of the temperatures I sort of am used to previously when I've been to like the US Open or the Australian Open. Because, yeah, it has been so hot. I mean, we've hit record temperatures today. It's the hottest opening day on record. Air temperatures on the ground reach 32.3 Celsius. Scorchio.
That is a sticky situation. And I think a few players found themselves in sticky situations today. I think it's not the sort of day that you want to play 5 sets, is it, Joel?
Absolutely not. And you are right. Perhaps it did have a factor in the Carlos Alcaraz match against Fabio Fognini, which we're going to be getting on to. We're going to be talking about Arina Sabalenka and Coco Gauff as well as the Brit Oliver Tarvet and his prize money situation. We're going to be looking ahead as well to day 2. So lots and lots to come. And we've got some player clips as well to give you some real insight into what goes on in the media theatre at Wimbledon. Our Wimbledon coverage is brought to you by Babolat.
Babolat is an official partner of Wimbledon and the racket of choice for defending champion Carlos Alcaraz.
Since 2013, Babolat has been the official supplier of rackets, strings, bags and accessories for Wimbledon, as well as providing the tournament's racket service since 2022, restringing over 6,000 rackets each championships.
The shared history between Babolat and Wimbledon traces back to the very roots of the game. And this year, they have something very special up their sleeve. They are celebrating their 150-year anniversary by unveiling their new Babolat Wimbledon collection to mark the start of the iconic British Grand Slam.
The elegant and modern collection features a lineup of 6 rackets, 4 shoe models and 3 bags, and is available to purchase online and on site at SW19.
So head to babolat.com to shop their official Wimbledon collection now and celebrate 150 years of youth, innovation and passion with Babolat this Wimbledon.
But Chris, we have to start with one match, and that is Carlos Alcaraz versus Fabio Fognini. Alcaraz coming through in 5 sets, 7-5, 6-7, 7-5, 2-6, 6-1, 4 hours and 37 minutes. This was not in the script.
It was not in the script. And I think what was particularly not in the script was the fact that at times when Carlos was up, he almost opened the door for Fognini to come back in. And I mean, even at times when you thought he's got this under control, I mean, that 4th set just ran away. But Were you ever genuinely concerned? Would be the question. Given Carlos's 5-set record.
I know. I mean, you look at his 5-set record, and he's now 14-1 with matches that go to a 5th set. And I was sort of wondering, is he just stat padding with this result? Was there was it ever really in doubt? But having said that, I did have a little bit of concern in that 4th set because, as you said, he was 2 sets to 1 up. I sort of thought he was just going to kind of steamroll through that 4th set, but it was actually the complete opposite because Fognini took it 6-2. We were heading into a 5th, and all of a sudden I was sort of scrambling around for records of defending champions at Grand Slams, seeing who's gone out in round 1.
And what did you find out? What would it have been had it have happened?
Well, at Wimbledon, it has happened before in the Open era with the men. The last time it happened, long time ago, Leighton Hewitt back in 2003.
I do remember that, yeah.
Yeah. By, who was it?
Oh, that's a tough one. Tell me.
It was Ivo Karlovic.
I mean, there's no shame in losing to Ivo Karlovic on a grass court, surely.
That's what I mean. I mean, I can sort of understand that situation. Ivo Karlovic, one of the biggest servers, in the game in his career. But Fabio Fognini, 38 years old, he hadn't won a match on the tour since October. What was it that Alcaraz was just finding so difficult against Fognini? And were there any other factors at play, like the weather, that possibly had an impact?
I mean, it's hard to say. I think probably it's the Wimbledon factor. I think it's the fact that everyone plays their best tennis. I think he was super inspired, having not been playing on the main tour and playing well on the main tour. This was his moment, and I think he really brought as much as he could today. I think Carlos was below par. I think not fashioning any break points in that 4th set, having won the 3rd, is a bit worrying. But then he did come through in the end. I think probably the temperatures being so hot did help him in that final set, his fitness and his youth, because you can't count out players who can play to such a high level. But I did not think in a 5th set that you would be siding on the side of the 38-year-old. But it's Wimbledon. We're all inspired. We all do crazy things, and people do some crazy performances. And this was one of them from Fognini.
Are you worried at all for Alcaraz? I mean, he committed 62 unforced errors across the 5 sets. His first serve was not looking great at times. Is that already cause for concern in terms of the Alcaraz defense, or is this just a case of winning ugly and moving on?
I mean, we've seen it before. Carlos plays his best tennis against the best players in the world. And I think if you're his coach, you're kind of pulling your hair out thinking, we do not want him to be spending this much energy. But thankfully, he has the energy of a Duracell bunny. He just keeps going. So I think it's sort of par for the courts when it comes to Alcaraz, because he does it all the time. I mean, Djokovic likes to drop a set. Carlos likes to play 5.
He does like to play 5, doesn't he? I mean, yeah, I think it's very interesting because, I mean, I always remember also Roger Federer against Alejandro Falla.
That was a great match.
Yeah, I mean, Federer was 2 sets down. I think Falla served for it in the 4th, but Federer ultimately kind of came through, and perhaps it's a little bit of a wake-up call, for Alcaraz as well. So it might serve him kind of a very good pick me up in terms of his level, because it's almost like he's had it on easy street so far, running away with the Queen's title. Probably maybe he thought I've got a nice draw here. But again, it just shows that there are no easy matches at Wimbledon, and you just can't count out anyone. And it was nice to hear him at the end, I think, say and talk about Fabio Fognini, who's scheduled to retire at the end of the season, to say, actually, this guy can play. He can play for a few years more if you want. Do you reckon Fognini's having second thoughts?
I mean, if you're Flavia Panetta, his wife, you must be thinking, surely it's time to pack up the racket. I think this is a very nice sort of farewell on the main stage.
She looked so proud watching on, didn't she?
I've seen her support him a lot, and I think it's very nice that he's still out there doing what he likes to do. But I do believe there's a time when people should hang up the rackets. And I think unless this really does bring on a fantastic performance, I'm not sure it is the move. But I mean, he is getting in his first few rounds, some very different opponents, Carlos Alcaraz, isn't he? Because he's going from, a quite lowly ranked Fognini to an even more lowly ranked Brit, isn't he, Joel?
Indeed, he is going to be facing Oliver Tarvet of Great Britain next. He is the world number 733, although not for much longer, because he came through Reedy of Switzerland today. 3 sets, 6-4, 6-4, 6-4, 2 hours and 19 minutes. So an unbelievable story that continues to grow and be more unbelievable, because he is going to be facing Carlos Alcaraz in the next round. And Chris, the reason this is such a big story is, in the build-up, we were speaking about the fact that he wasn't able to claim any of the prize money from round one just to get into the main draw because of his situation, the NCAA rules out in America, because he is a college player. Well, that prize pot is going up with every match. And now that he's in round 2, he's now being denied £99,000 in terms of Wimbledon prize money. And before we listen to him, what do you make of that?
Well, I would say I have learned something today. He's not being denied the prize money. It's all about the balance sheet. So let's hear from Oliver and find out what he's actually able to keep and if he will be getting that private jet he's talked about previously.
So by December, I need to show that I've profit or prize money minus expenses equals less than $10,000. So I don't know how much I think I made I think it's £99,000, isn't it? Something like that. £100,000. Obviously that's before tax, and I've got to find £60,000, £70,000 of expenses, which is expensive sport. So hopefully I can make that happen. And as I said, just pay my coaches a little bit extra. I don't know. We'll figure something out. Fly business class. But obviously, I keep humble. But just try and make that happen.
So it's about spending the money on your expenses, keeping it above board. But I think it's quite nice, the idea that he did think maybe I could pay my coach a bit more, maybe we could fly in a bit of a nicer sort of situation. But I mean, if it does, which I mean, the odds may be against him with the Carlos Alcaraz next. But I mean, if this story does develop, I mean, will he be, he might be able to pay for Carlos Alcaraz and himself to go to Ibiza together on a private jet.
Oh, I mean, it's not a bad situation, is it, to be in? I mean, the way he kind of
spend
framed it,
a lot of money.
Yeah, I've got to find £60,000-70,000 worth of expenses. It's quite interesting. It's like I would just kind of maybe just form, Avengers Assemble on my tennis team, just get the most, sophisticated tennis team.
He could hire the best of the best, you're saying. So maybe he should be looking for the most expensive coach going. But does he have a chance, Joel? We've got to talk about it. He thinks he does. He said, based on how he's playing, he thinks he could beat anyone, and that includes Carlos Alcaraz. So, I mean, he may be playing in his first tour event, but he's certainly backing himself, and you have to. But, I mean, there is such a thing as blind optimism.
Yeah, I did admire. I heard him in press today. I did admire his confidence. It sort of reminded me of Sabalenka's opponent today, Brandstein from Canada. She's been quoted as basically saying she just has no fear, plays with confidence on the court, and it sounds like Tarvet is in the same situation. Maybe that's bred from playing kind of college tennis, and the results and the performances he's able to do out there. No doubt, though, Carlos Alcaraz on centre court is going to be quite a big step up, quite a different kettle of fish. I'll be interested to see kind of how he kind of handles the crowd, whether he kind of plays up to it, or does he try and block it out, for example? Because I always remember the only kind of parallel I really have to this is when Marcus Willis faced Roger Federer on centre court, I think in like a round 3 match all those years ago. And I think Marcus Willis really enjoyed the occasion. It felt almost exhibition-y from kind of set 1.
It's a free hit, isn't it? Yeah.
It's a free hit. And I wonder if we might be in store for a similar situation this time.
A bit like Jack Draper when he played against Djokovic all those years ago and he took a set off him and no one really thought that could happen. People can be really inspired at home. And, a few players who could do with a bit more inspiration today were the men's seeds, Joel, because although we had some surprise packages making it through and the very, very top seeds made it through, we lost Holger Rune, Medvedev, Cerundolo, Popyrin, and Tsitsipas, all of them out. Has this happened before in this way? Can we remember a time when so many seeds have exited midway through day one?
I know it really has been a sort of bloodbath of the kind of top seeds on the men's draw. I mean, you just kind of rattled off those names. Which name for you is most surprising? Because Rune went out from 2 sets to love up. Medvedev, 2-time semi-finalist at Wimbledon, and was in the Halle final very recently. Popyrin as well against sort of an unknown Brit. Tsitsipas retiring. Where do you think? Which result surprised you the most?
Well, I mean, I'd have to say Medvedev because I did think I have him for my semi-finals, I believe. So I will have to say Medvedev, but I was also surprised with the nature of Holger's loss. I think that Holger being 2 sets up and then losing to Jarry. Jarry is not a clutch player, not famously a clutch player. So there's a few players right now that are losing their way. I think with Tsitsipas, we have talked about it. It's been a tough time. He has talked about like if it doesn't pick up, will he keep continuing? Is it worth it? Hopefully that's just some of those things that you say after a tough loss. But I mean, lots of upsets. And I think probably the nature of the day and the heat probably had a factor in terms of who was best able to handle it. Because, if you think about Jarry, he's from Chile. I'm sure he can handle some of the heat that's there. And maybe some of these players weren't necessarily the best at it on the day.
I mean, why, you spoke about Medvedev. Why has it been that Daniil Medvedev has not been able to perform this year? Because Australian Open round 2, French Open round 1, Wimbledon round 1, these are not results that we associate with Daniil Medvedev, given his status in the game, a few seasons ago.
It's very up and down, isn't it? I do find it really confusing because every time you think he's sorted himself out, it doesn't quite materialize. Like you say, that Halle final, we thought potentially he's back. I thought so much that he would make the semi-finals again like he has done previously. He's so consistent that you don't really understand what's going wrong. So I think maybe it's a case that his temperament sometimes isn't necessarily as good as it used to be. The frustrations boil over. It's quite similar, to Andrei Rublev. And I think that maybe he needs to find a bit more balance because if you keep playing and you keep on not getting the results or it's not working for you, I think you need to look at your setup. You need to look at what you should change to try and get you back to winning ways.
Indeed. And there's a couple of matches going on at the moment. Taylor Fritz, Mapeshi Pericard. That match, Chris, has been suspended at 2 sets all. So that's going to be a 5th set shootout tomorrow. And we also have Zverev versus Rinderknech. Now, Rinderknech is a set up. It's 5-all in the second set. So a couple of players potentially also could be added to that seed exodus. Before we go to a break, I just want to mention Mapeshi Pericard. He served today Wimbledon's fastest ever serve.
How quick was it?
I want to make sure I get this right. I think it was 153 miles per hour.
I mean, that is pretty blooming quick. I think he also was slamming down some very, very quick second serve. So you do think if he doesn't get the win over Fritz, I mean, that is a bit of the battle of the serve. So to hit the fastest one and not come through, I always think feels like a little bit of a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, indeed. Right. We're going to take a quick break now. Do join us in the second half where we will be discussing the women's action from day 1 at Wimbledon, as well as looking ahead to day 2. So do not go anywhere. Welcome back to the Tennis Weekly podcast brought to you by Babolat. And it's time now to look at the women's action from day 1, Chris. And we're going to start with Aryna Sabalenka. Now, we're going to get into the kind of Sabalenka, Coco Gauff, beef, not beef in a sec following that, that French Open final that they had, and the words that Sabalenka had in the in the post-match press conference after that defeat. But just generally, yeah, Sabalenka today, I mean, she's not been at Wimbledon for a couple of years. Really unfortunate last season. She had to withdraw due to injury. But yeah, came through today against qualifier Carson Brandstein, 6-1, 7-5. I think she looked pretty good. And a good result. No doubt there's going to be tougher tests to come. But, I think she'll be really happy that she's just back at Wimbledon because, again, speaking to her in press, it feels like this is a tournament that she holds in high regard. No doubt she's going to want to really land, a ladies singles title here. And this was a good start for her in that quest.
Well, she's got a point to prove at the moment. She's on a battle to pick up another slam. It's a slam she's never won as well. And she's also battling against some of those emotions, as you alluded to, Joel. So I think it'd be quite interesting to hear about what's happened since the French Open, how she's managing those emotions, and how she's reflected on that coming into Wimbledon.
Well, we've always been really good with Coco, and honestly, as I said in the statement, and I messaged to her, like, I didn't really want to offend her. I was just completely like upset with myself, and emotions got over me, and I just completely lost it. And I wanted to say it in person to her, but I wasn't sure if she's going to come to Berlin, so I had to message her to apologize and make sure she understands that I didn't want to offend. And of course, she got my respect. She knew it. She knows it. And I'm happy that she was like, yeah, it's all good. Don't worry. And yeah, as you saw the video, us talking, we were good. We were friends. So I hope the US media can be easy on me right now. Well, I mean, I did what I did, and I get what I deserve, I believe. And it was a tough time for me. I'm glad I had a book and Mykonos, so I could just get distracted by reading books. So yeah, I got back to reading. So the lesson is learned, and definitely not going to happen again.
So I think you can say that potentially she is now very much looking to be Sabalenka 2.0 when it comes to the emotional side of things. We know it's all good with Coco. We've seen all of those TikToks. Did you think that the temperament that Sabalenka had on court today was an improved temperament, or do you think it was more the press conferences she's talking about afterwards?
I think, temperament on court today was positive. Of course, Brandstein is not she's a very game competitor, and I think she's a very exciting player to watch. She has actually quite a big serve that I think can do some real damage in the women's game. Perhaps needs to be tailored a little bit more, but certainly I think, Sabalenka's, is on the charm offensive, I think, at the moment. And it sounds like, there's water under the bridge now between kind of Sabalenka and Goff. We saw that practice set on the Wimbledon social channels. And Chris, that's something I wanted to ask you about, because we've seen kind of the marketing of tournaments kind of lay into these practice sets between kind of top players. But to me, Sabalenka Goff and the videos that Wimbledon put out, sort of to me a little bit of an own goal, because if I see a rivalry that does have an edge, I want to sort of play it up and actually feel like there's a little bit of animosity perhaps between the two, rather than kind of nullifying it and showing them, oh, actually they're best friends now. And, here's a practice set of them playing and getting along, with each other. I don't feel like maybe Wimbledon maybe helped themselves in terms of sort of like maybe just creating this idea maybe that actually there's still a little bit more distance between them, as opposed to just sort of publicizing, oh, here's a practice set, they're best friends now.
Well, I guess it is probably quite one side in the sense that, I mean, Coco had done absolutely nothing wrong apart from win the French Open. So I guess that she was able to quite easily kind of get over it. Seems like that they made amends. So I think it would be interesting still to see what would happen if they did both make the final, because then...
Are they going to do a TikTok dance then?
Oh, you think when Coco gets if Coco gets the win, or whoever gets the win, they're going to do a TikTok with the two trophies?
I can't see it. So it's a little bit like, I don't know. To me, it felt maybe a little bit forced and like, you know,
We like it when people get
putting on a
on.
united front.
We also do like it when there's an edge to some matches. And I think whatever happens, there will be revenge. She's talked about it. She wants the revenge, but I think it's good that they've moved on. So hopefully we can all now move on.
And that's what we're going to do, because we're going to talk about British success today, because it has been a golden day for the Brits. 7 Brits through. And Chris, I think the sort of the widest smiles are probably to do with the women's results, because the British top 3, Raducanu, Boulter and Kartal, 2 of those 3, Boulter and Kartal, had very tricky round 1 draws. Kartal had Ostapenko, Boulter had Paula Badosa, the 9th seed, and both of them came up trumps. Very, very good victories. What were you impressed by, before we get on to Raducanu, what were you impressed by with Katie Boulter's performance against Badosa and Kartal against Ostapenko?
Well, I didn't get to see that much of the Ostapenko Kartal match. I was on court for the Katie Boulter match, and I think what was so impressive was that Badosa was really playing well. She turned that match around by improving her level. She really raised it. And she looked like she might have got the edge when she went up a break at the start of that 3rd set. And it's the fighting spirit of Katie Boulter that got her that win. I think she really does care about this tournament. It means so much to her. And she can almost go to like the deepest depths to find a performance, because it looked really like she might be going out, and then she almost sprinted the finish line, and it was clean tennis, it was smart tennis, and it was fearless. So for me, I think that sort of result where someone almost plays a mirror image to you, and the only way you're going to beat them is by playing your best level against them, I think that's probably more impressive to me than potentially Ostapenko, because I do think there's been question marks about fitness, and also not taking anything away from Kartal, but she hasn't had the best lead in. She did take quite an extended holiday to Mykonos as well. So I'm not sure how serious she was about this championships.
Yes, I think I was reading actually Kartal. A very good victory for Kartal. I think she's a player who I think has admitted she doesn't deal well with those kind of power-based players, because it takes time away from her. So yeah, a good performance from her. And just on Katie Boulter, I think that was her 4th WTA top 10 victory. And I would say, I feel like putting her on a show court at Wimbledon, it really does elevate her game. We've seen this before. I remember her victory against Pliskova a few years ago. She really does raise her game. So really, really exciting. And just very quickly, a word on Emma Raducanu. You were at that match against Mimi Zhu, a fellow Brit. Raducanu admitted, this is a match, she didn't look forward to really kind of playing. It's not a nice feeling, I guess, having to go out against a fellow Brit, but a good performance.
It was good. I think they both played very well. I think Mimi did a really good performance for her Grand Slam debut. I think she's got great potential. I think she hit really hard. And I think that the intensity that Emma brought to that match showed that she had an awful lot of respect for her friend that she was playing against. And I think that was what was quite interesting. She did look pretty comfortable. There was one moment where she got broken back, but I think Raducanu looked very focused. And one thing I have to raise that I thought was particularly funny that isn't about the tennis is that a champagne cork made it onto the court. Emma had to go and pick it up. And then she said, would you like it back, before she binned it, just in case they wanted to keep it? And I would have said, yes, please. That is a memory that Emma Raducanu on court 1 had to hand me back my champagne cork. But they did not. And now she sets up what will be a much tougher opponent than, the Brits popping champagne bottles in Marketa Vondrousova. So it doesn't get easier for the Brits, but maybe it gets a little bit easier for those who've knocked out the seeds.
Yes, I mean, Vondrousova next, very tricky. I watched her a little bit today against McCartney Kessler. She did go walkabout a little bit in that second set, allowed Kessler back in. Vondrousova, I think, was 5-1 up. Looked like she was coasting, and ultimately, I think, nabbed the second set on a tiebreak. But yeah, certainly a very tricky customer. Tougher times, tougher opponents even for Raducanu to face. And Boulter and Kartal also through. So very, very exciting. Kartal, I believe, plays Tomova next, because Ons Jabeur, former Wimbledon finalist, retired. Before we finish and look at the next day 2, Chris, I mean, it's very sad, I think, to see, with Ons Jabeur, where she's at sadly at the moment. And, she didn't go to press afterwards. She did leave us with a statement. And I think it was quite interesting that she said she's definitely going to try to disconnect a little bit from tennis and try to just enjoy life outside tennis, recover and spend a little bit of time with the family. And hopefully that could recharge me. But yeah, a bit of a sad moment, I think, for Ons Jabeur fans.
Very sad. I saw a bit of that from the media balcony. You're able to see that court, and I did not think that would be what would be happening, but it was her struggling. I think she's been struggling for a while, and if she wasn't expecting, she said she wasn't expecting to not feel good, but I mean, a lot of us weren't necessarily expecting big things from her here. So that match was a big shame, but I mean, also a big shame if you were out watching Anisimova and Putintseva, because
I knew you were going to bring this up.
I love these sorts of things.
I bet Maria Sakkari does as well.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, she probably texted some support to Anisimova prior to this one, gave her some inspiration. But 45 minutes, 6-love, 6-love. Remember, Putintseva actually took out Iga Swiatek at Wimbledon.
Yeah, she's a good grass court
last
player.
year. She really is. So that was very surprising. That is the world number 33 who got double bageled. So Ons, even not feeling her best, was able to do a better job than Putintseva was. So she can take some comfort in that. But people who can't take much comfort are those playing tomorrow, Joel, who will be in even hotter conditions. And some of them will be coming back for 2 consecutive days.
Yes, indeed. We're going to see in that 5th set shootout, how is Fritz going to be able to kind of claw back the victory? I mean, tomorrow on the men's side is headlined really by Sinner, Draper and Djokovic. We've also got the ladies champion Barbora Krejcikova first out on centre against Alexandra Iala. I've got that on upset alert. Yastremska Goff. I think that's quite tricky for Goff on centre. And then, yeah, number 1, you've got an all-Italian clash, Sinner, Nardi, Kvitova, last Wimbledon bout against Emma Navarro, and then Draper, Baez. What matches are you looking forward to on the show courts? And are there any actually matches on the outside courts as well you're interested in? And also, world number 1 Yannick Sinner on number 1 court. What do you think about that?
Well, I think we should make a regular segment on scheduling, because
we love to talk about it.
We love it, and we can almost never get it right these days, because the only thing we can get right is the defending champions play the first match on centre court on Monday and Tuesday. I was surprised that Sinner was on that court. I do think, though, if you do have one men's match, then Djokovic probably would be the person that the British audience and that Wimbledon would schedule on that court, given his track record at the tournament. And that might be a bit more of a tricky contest, because 2 Italians playing each other might not necessarily be the most interesting for the global audience in that respect. I'm surprised that also Draper, I mean, court number 1, I do understand that, but there's a lot of hype. Is that to give him maybe a little bit of a less hyped slot, potentially a bit later in the day? And Kvitova, this is my question. Should Kvitova be given a match on centre, given it's her last Wimbledon, and she most likely is going to go out to Emma Navarro, or has she not played well enough to warrant it?
I don't think she's earned the right to be on centre. I think a number 1's quite a nice. I think that's the best she was going to get realistically. I'm also looking at Iga Swiatek on number 2 court, and you've got Elena Rybakina on number 3 court. So there's some really big names.
There are. I mean, Osaka was out on court 18 today. I mean, the cues were quite something. So there are no bad courts. I think Monfils Humbert, I'm looking forward to. That's court 12. So if you have a ticket for tomorrow and you're on centre and court 1, you will also, or today, if you're listening today, you will also get the remainder of Zverev on centre. That'll be the second match of the day that will be played. That's in a tiebreak in the second, and you will get a 1-set shootout of Fritz and Pericard. So action-packed day 2.
Indeed. I feel like we just need to set up a side podcast just to talk about scheduling, because we could just talk about it for hours, I think. But yeah, we're going to wrap it up there for our Wimbledon Day 1 catch-up, brought to you by Babolat here at Tennis Weekly HQ. We hope you've enjoyed the ride with us. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss a moment of action from Wimbledon. We are going to be here every day producing daily episodes across the fortnight. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and all your favorite podcasting platforms out there. And if you love what you're hearing, be sure to leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube.
And we are on YouTube. This is a video episode like all of our episodes. If you're new to us, you are able to watch us as well as listen to us. You can stay connected on all of our social media channels. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're on Threads as well. And we are on X. And the handle for all of those is Tennis Weekly Pod. We will be posting around the grounds. You'll be seeing some great things. And we do have some clips that we'll be putting live every morning with the talking point of the day. So that is something to look out for. And if you'd like to drop us an email, any questions you may have, then do email us at tennisweeklypod@gmail.com, and we will try to find the answer for you.
And we're going to be back on Tuesday for our Wimbledon Day 2 catch-up, brought to you by Babolat. But until then, it's goodbye from Chris.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time on Tennis Weekly.